The 2024 Gaming Awards show was a demoralization ritual for the modern gamer. And I'm not even talking about the many games which look like games that we've already seen and played before. Games which are essentially just reskins of team-based tactical shooters, arena shooters, isometric RPGs, social simulators, and so on. Many of these titles come and go under the radar, and they bloat the running time of the show overall. Very, very boring. Now, it's easy to forget that video games take a long time to develop. Many of the bigger titles amidst this lineup show signs that postmodernism is still well ingrained within the media, and much of what we are going to see over the next few years is just more and more woke slop, probably leagues worse than much of what we have already seen in recent years. If we thought video game titles like The Suicide Squad, Dustborn, or Veilguard, or movies like Fallout or Borderlands were bad, I suspect that we've only hit the tip of the iceberg. Ranger Boo, another contributor to What the EGAD, has a good take on all this. Many of the games that we're going to be seeing in 2025 were greenlit as far back as 4 years ago. 2020 was a time where the progressive left had thought they had finally won. Orange Man ousted from the office. In addition, following the Me Too movement and the plandemic, the games industry saw a massive change of hands and adoption of racist policies such as DEI and other forms of social justice. But now, 2024 has arrived and there's a course redirection. Won't say course correction because Trump is most definitely not our guy. He is leagues better than whatever Kamala would have been, so one supposes we ought to count our blessings there. Nevertheless, one does ponder what the Game Awards would have been had Trump not been elected. And what we have seen through the 2024 Game Awards is that developers and industry professionals alike have already set the table for a woke world. The games they started years ago are nearly complete, and next year we'll see them released to the public. But a new public. A public that now knows, to some extent or another, just how industry professionals truly feel about their consumers. Putting my ear to the ground, I've been listening to people weeping and wailing about how this character Ciri is making a return in Witcher 4. And even without my having played the Witcher games myself, the through line I keep on hearing from people who have played the games is, why are they doing this? Don't they realize this is not true to the lore? Didn't they play the older games? But you see, you guys still don't get it. The industry is not catering to you. They haven't been for years. The people who used to cater to you sold everything to the wokesters. And now these wokesters are taking all the things that you love and they are destroying them. And they're laughing in your faces as they do so. And so expect a bunch of woke slop to come around the next bend. And 2025 won't even be the end of it. I personally expect it won't even take 4 years. It'll take 10 years for the games industry to even begin to peek its head over this mound of postmodern didacticism. Until then, you're going to be served bugs on a platter, and you will be expected to eat them and be happy about it. And even with the election of Donald Trump, there's a chance we will remain within this fantasy realm where we believe that video games are going to somehow get better, and that the media that has been in development for years, all under the shadow of progressive politics, is somehow going to change into something else upon its publication. But this is all delusional. Yet YouTube does persist under delusional normies, some of whose content reflects an egregious misunderstanding of the current situation. Most normies still seem to regard industry professionals as being compelled to make a profit and cater to their desires, and they repeatedly consume their woke slop because they hold out hope that their complaints have finally been listened and adhered to. Time and time again, we've seen that normies just don't understand that said professionals are not in the business of making a profit. They don't give a damn about go woke, go broke. Everything they do is a calculated effort in cultural death and destruction. Now, as I've said before, I've never played any of the Witcher games, and I have very little context for what is going on with Witcher 4, but I don't think I need to. I am listening to people who have played these games and who know these games, but everything I hear is the same song and dance. Let me repeat, the industry is putting you all through a demoralization ritual, so you can all have endless discussions about malore and consistency, everything boasting your power level, your investment assessment of a game and all arguments seemingly catering to that mindset. You still think it's all about the writing. Just hire better writers, hire people who know the lore, etc., etc. Again, this all assumes that the industry is not otherwise full of people who purposely do not adhere to consistency, do not adhere to lore, do not adhere to world building, and all your autistic fascinations as a matter of course. Today's games are not made to be fun. They are made to remind you that you are forever guilty of racism, sexism, and homophobia. These people want you to be in a perpetual state of guilt, of frustration, and demoralization. It's funny to them. They take your money knowing full well that you've been rendered pathetic, in a state where you will continually call upon your personal investments into your lore, into your franchise trivia, into your world building, and your bedroom walls lined with consumer products. All stuff that is supposed to be super important to you, right? Yes. Super important until you're called a bigot, and then you fold like a pancake. You know, I remember seeing a lot of proto-woke elements seep into the industry as far back as 10 years ago, perhaps even farther if I'm to be honest. And so that is why I say I would not doubt it will take us 10 or more so years to dig ourselves out of that hole. Until then, be prepared. Be prepared for even more wokeness. Watch as the flames of your childhood continue to rise. We are not out of this. Far from it. Now, Synthetic Man's assessment of gaming's future is that people are going to become more complacent. Normies will continue to accept wokeness to a subtle degree, as they did with the Fallout show. And true, as the saying goes, it is far easier to fool people than it is to convince them that they have been fooled. However, as an addendum, I would like to add it is far easier to convince people that they have been fooled if they are also being repeatedly antagonized by those who do fool them. And over the past year, that's what's caused many normies to start to notice that something is wrong. Even today, we see industry professionals like CD Projekt Red and Naughty Dog are proving themselves to be arrogant SOBs, as they find it appropriate to lash out at their consumers for complaining about their products. And just like what put Sweet Baby Inc. into the limelight, this kind of behavior has the tendency to Streisand affect the narrative, to shed more and more light on just how much these people hate us. And that's the thing, regardless of Trump's victory, I don't believe the people in the industry have it within themselves to be subtle, to shut their mouths and just play along as they subvert their audience with progressive politics. Life is also short, and ain't nobody got time to play subtlety. The wokesters have been far too enabled by all the clown world developments over the past decade, and so I don't think they will lay low. And so in contrast with how Synthetic Man sees the field, I don't believe these people have the capacity to lay low. But in short, 2025 is not going to be a good year for the industry. But even after having said that, we should not be demoralized. It's a good thing that more widespread cultural degradation is becoming more and more apparent. And perhaps it will not be this year, but surely we are approaching a day where, when it comes down to being compliant and tolerant, or being a racist, perhaps even the normies will eventually shrug and say, well, I guess I'll just have to be a racist then.